Hey up everybody, how the devil are we all doing? It's toasted, not grilled, and in this video we're going to be making a fortress on top of the Charleston Capitol Building. Now obviously the location is here in Charleston, hence the name Charleston Capitol Building. Now some of you may be thinking, this isn't a secret location, I've seen builds done here. Well yeah, that's true. But personally, I've never seen one around the base of the dome. I've only ever seen them teetering on top of the spire. So yeah, modular placement can be pretty finicky here, but you should be able to get it down around this kind of area on the spire. Beautiful. Now when it comes to laying down your foundations, this spot is really forgiving. They'll snap through the floors and they're relatively easy to get down. However, I will warn you, you want to lay your foundations down in such a way that you can get upper floors all around this domey building thing. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But for now, just use this foundation I've placed down as a reference point. It'll get you on your way. So when that first foundation's down, the rest of them we're just going to put down in a square around this domey boy 3000 thing in middle. Dead simple. And when we do eventually get to the point of putting in our upper floors, if nothing lines up nicely, then just delete all the foundations except the first one you put down and just tweak it a little bit. Like I say guys, you'll see what I mean in a minute, and trust me, nothing is going to fit perfectly 100%. You're not supposed to be building here really. Anyway, once you've got all your foundations in, it's time for putting our upper floors. Now as you can see on this corner, I've put down some stairs and I've attached one of the skinny little floor pieces to it. Beautiful. And we're going to use this to go all around the central dome area. For the time being, we're just going to keep them one floor wide all the way around the building. However, we are going to make it wider in some places later. Now when you get to this spot here, and the same on the other side, you'll see why getting them foundations down in the right place is pretty important. If you place them too far to the left, you won't be able to get the flooring on the right side, and if you place them too far to the right, you won't be able to get them in on the left side. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because it doesn't to me. Same applies at front and back at building as well, but it's a lot more forgiving. You've got a little bit more room to play with. Now here we can see a wild TNG fucking up his build, and that's because these floors can be a little temperamental when you're placing them. Now yes, it could be something to do with the fact that I've got the concentration range of a teaspoon, but we're just going to gloss over that. What we're going for is these half floors overhanging the foundations below by, well, half a floor. Ah yeah, something like that. Thank you past self for putting that image in here, but that's what we're going for, that kind of thing, all the way around it. Stick with that and you'll be absolutely bloody golden. Anyhow, as you can see, I've cocked up my foundations here. Oh no, we can't get a floor in there, but that's fine. It's a fortress built in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's not going to be perfect. So we're just going to adapt to the situation by doing this. Now yes, there is going to be a hole here, but let's face it, there's more burning questions around this build than a hole in the floor. The main one being, how the hell did anybody get all the concrete up here to build a fucking fortress in the first place? You know, it's one of them things. Now we can start making some of our floors wider, and we want every corner on this build to look like this here. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go around the build and add some floors in. Now at the front and the back of the build, we're going to be putting our floors on the inside of the floors we've already got down. Does that make sense? Yep, fantastic. And on the sides of our builds, we're going to have them on the outside of the floors we've already put down, so they overhang. Again, does that make sense? I'm sure it bloody does. As with the rest of the build, this is not going to be 100% perfect. You are going to have holes in the floor where you can't put floor pieces down, but we're just going to have to live with it. I mean, of course, if you do have unlimited levels of masochism and time, then you will be able to place your foundations so everything fits pretty much bang on. Unfortunately though guys, I don't have the time to do this anymore. I've had to take eloquency lessons. Apparently some people are struggling to understand my not Yorkshire accent, so yep, sorry guys, I'm not going to have as much time to put into these builds anymore. Anyhow, once we've got our floors in, we can start moving on to our walls. Yep, if you ever wondered why I only upload once a week, it's because of this kind of bullshit. Right then, so the first walls we're going to put down are underneath our floors here, and we're literally just going to run them all the way around on these foundations. Dead simple. Now, I'm going to be using whatever the fuck this set is, can't remember its name. Why using these sets? Well, that's a good question, and I'm going to tell you. Reason 1, they look like something you'd find in the wasteland. 2, they have venti boys in them. Again, looks like something you'd find in the wasteland, and they can break up a solid wall of colour. And number 3, there is an arrow slit option. And what the castles have? Well, they have arrow slits, don't they? And in a nuclear wasteland filled with laser weapons and power armor, I think arrow slits in this build would make perfect sense. Just like my Discord. The link's in the description. Sorry, moving on. Now, when you are putting these walls down, don't just go around using the same build piece. Mix it up a little bit. For example, put down a couple of solid walls and next to it, put down some of the shutter boys. You know, just make it look interesting. Yeah, that's the word. Another top tip, if you're not using this set and you use using wood or steel pieces. I don't know, whatever the hell you choose. Mix up the materials a little bit. For example, put down a half wooden wall and then on top of it, put down a half warehouse wall. It just makes it look a little bit more textured, I think the correct word is. I don't know, maybe. Now, I'm not going to be doing it in this build because I've got this concrete set, but I am aware that not everybody would have it. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Does it? Probably not, no. Once you've got all them walls in, you should be left with something like this. Simply marvellous. Now we can start putting in some towers because castle, and we're going to put these on every corner. These are dead simple to do. You're literally just doing a 1-floor block. Well, it'll be 2 half floors, but 1. Anyway, you know what I mean. If you are using this build set, I would advise facing the doorway inwards because they look absolutely bloody terrible. Your first 3 walls should go down absolutely fine. When you get to the last one at the back here, which is going to be a doorway, just put down a half floor there, and then you should be able to plonk your doorway in. Simply lovely. We can then finish it off with a pointy boy roof, and job's a good one. There's your tower. Now all you got to do is put these down on the remaining 3 corners. These should go down absolutely fine. The only issue you're going to have is when you get to the last tower, and I will pre-warn you, get the bleach ready to wash your eyes out. It's going to look awful because the stairs are there, so we are going to have to address that. And the way we're going to do this is by adding a rather grandiose entryway. No, it's not grand, it's just the only thing I can think of. Take a ganders at this side of the build. As you can see, there's a walkway leading up to the Capitol building itself. It's made up of shit that were washed down from the dam, and we're going to use this to our advantage. First up, we're going to pull out these walls and these R4s here, so we're left with this gap. We can then snap down 4 foundations in said gap. Simply lovely. We can then build doorways on either side of the middle 2 foundations, and of course, walls on the front of it. So we're left with something like this. Does it look brilliant? Absolutely not. Will it serve our purposes? Yes, it will. Right, so on these 2 outer foundations, we're going to use these for stairs, and what we're going to snap to them? Well, these concrete bad boys here. And if you have OCD, I will pre-warn you, look away now. Yep, the pointy bit does not line up with this at all, but that's absolutely fine. I promise I'm not triggered. Yep, I absolutely am. But beggars can't be choosers, so we must continue. Once we've got all this done, we can put down some of these gantry stairs here. And by doing this, it will enable us to go over to this horrible, disgusting looking eyesore over here and actually turn it into an half-decent looking tower. Now, I will admit, I can be quite half-arsed at builds, but stuff like that, I can't abide by it. That looked absolutely dreadful. So now we can move on to the task of putting down some defensive railings, and believe it or not, we're just going to be using vanilla ones. These wooden boys here. Very nice. I'll pre-warn you, these are not going to go down all around the build. You know, there are going to be some areas where it's going to be clipping into the domey central structure thing, so it won't let you place them. But don't worry about it, just get them down where you can, and we'll come back to them gaps later. Now, you may also be thinking, well, with those little defensive railings, using half floors, you can't get the little pieces down. Well, Mr. Church came up with a solution for that, and we'll go over that in a minute. But yeah, anyway, once you've got all your defensive railings down, you should be left with something like this. Now let's move on to the tricky little half ones. When you try and place down one of these little half defensive walls, it'll say you can't, because just like Meat Week, this game is broken. Fortunately enough for us, Mr. Crunch came up with a solution for this. And the long and short of it is, we need to get a defensive post underneath the right-hand corner of this half floor here. So if we go ahead and delete this half floor here, I mean, we could have just slid it across, but anyway, we can then place down an half floor in this spot here. Now, if we go underneath, we can delete these 2 walls. Simply lovely. And what do you know? We can now snap a post into this position here. Beautiful. We can then come up top again, slide this half floor back to where it should be, underneath the guard tower, and look at that. We can now put in a half defensive wall. And now you can go around and do this with all the little half floors that you got knocking around your build, where you can get them in at least anyway. And always remember, the post needs to be on the right-hand side corner of the floor, not the left-hand side, the right-hand side. So you may be thinking how I got the defensive railings in around where our gantry stairs are. Well, I totally forgot about that, so I'm going to show you now. What I did on the other side of the build is make this little contraption here. It's just a stair, snap to the floors, go into a foundation. Simple as that. That will allow us to delete our gantry stairs, put down some floors into place, and put down our defensive walls. We can then remove our floor pieces, and hey presto, we've now got room to put our stairs back in, but don't do it until you put your little half defensive walls on the end of it. This is exactly the same method as what we used on the other half defensive wall pieces. Like I say, guys, always remember that the post needs to be on the right hand side of the floor piece as you're looking at it, if that makes sense. Yep. 100% does. Right then, so once we've got our defensive walls in, we can start putting in some posts to make it look like it's not held up by hopes and dreams. And we're going to be using this posty boy blueprint here. I have done videos on how to do it, so I'll leave a link in top corner now. Go and have a look if you're not familiar with this. And we're just going to stick down one of these on each corner of the overhang bits on the left-hand side and right-hand side of our builds. But of course, if you wanted to stick them in other places, be my guest. The world is your oyster. However, I will not be held responsible for any injuries caused by sticking poles in places. Let's just have that on record. Moving on swiftly, once you've got all that done, you should be left with something like this. I think it's about time that we address all these gaps where we can't get defensive walls in. Now, this is entirely up to you how you go about it, but I'm just going to use the good old stash boxes, and we're going to make it look like it's just been scattered all over the rampart, I think the word is. Yeah, we'll go with that. And as well as covering the gaps up, it just gives the build a bit more of a lived-in feel. Yeah, beautiful. Like I said, guys, you can put whatever you want here, but just bear in mind your budget. This is quite a large build, and we do have more to do on it, so don't go too crazy. Another handy camp item to have are these defensive railings. I say this every video. I think they came from the Scorch reward, but I don't know. I should really check on that, shouldn't I? And these are literally fit in with everything. They give it a kind of I'm a cheapskate and can't be arsed buying proper stuff feel. Same with these concrete barricades. Now, these are vanilla. You don't have to buy them. You don't have to unlock them on a scoreboard. You know, they're just in the game. And they fit in really, really well with a fortress kind of build. So bloody get them used, guys. You know, they're quite overlooked, these. I don't see many people using them these days. So yeah, get on them. Now, you may notice we've not got much usable space in this build. So we're going to have to be a little bit naughty and we're going to be glitchy boys and go inside the dome itself. So I've made some stairs out of these stash boxes here. Yep, doesn't look brilliant, but it does the job. And if you would now please cast your eyes down to the floor here, you'll notice a cooking pot on top of a welcome mat. We're going to use this to glitch inside of this bad boy. As you can see, it's dead easy to make. As long as the ladle's facing the wall or whatever you want to glitch into, once you interact with it, it should put you through the wall. Just like that, you see. Now, most interiors are quite glitchy when you get inside of them, even if you put walls down, but this actually isn't too bad. There's not really much room in here to build anything other than like a cross-shaped structure thing, but I'm only making an armory, so it's not too bad, to be honest with you. You could build up with stairs if you wanted to, but be aware the top part of the dome is blocked off, so you can't get walls and roofs up there. Anyhow, I'm going to cut away to some footage of this thing decorated. I'm going to be going for another Brotherhood of Steel theme, I think. Yeah, kind of fits in, doesn't it? I'll catch you in a sec. And there you are, you see. What do you reckon of that? Not too bad, is it? It's particularly handy at the moment with this Aliens from Meat Week on, because the Capitol Building is one of the spots where the event kicks off, so that's nice to know, isn't it? Nope, you probably already knew that. As ever, guys, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all my Patreons. The support is much appreciated. And while we're on the subject of Patreons, I'd like to show you one of my patrons' camp. This is Lanfar's Deathcore Island build. And it just goes to show that you don't need to have a massive camp to have a really cool looking build. I mean, just look at the lighting on that bugger. Simply lovely. Thank you very much for sharing this with us, Lanthar. Bloody good job. Anyhow, guys, that is it from me. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. Let me know I'm doing an half decent job. And if you do want to see more weekly Fallout 76 builds like this one, or the one that should be on your screen now, hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Anyway, as we say in the north, I'll love you and leave you, and I'll catch you at next one.